You are listening to Women's Running Stories, where exceptional women runners share inspirational stories about their running experiences.
I think the appeal of the six-star medal was the facts of putting myself, giving myself a challenge. I like a challenge and doing something that was really, really hard that other people and maybe myself didn't think was possible. And just achieving a goal that was for me and one that no one could take away from me, and that required a lot of hard work, a lot of overcoming fears and challenges, and also, I think above all, showing my kids, showing other mums and other people that you can do hard things, that it requires a lot of hard work, but you can do it. You are allowed to have goals. You are allowed to put yourself first at times, and just to take opportunities. And I want to show other people that it's possible to follow dreams, and show my kids that with hard work you can set yourself high targets and achieve goals, and then feel great after. Feel really great. Hi, my name is Emma Board, and I'm first and foremost a wife and a mum of three little ones. I've got two girls, Lola, who's 9, and Lydia, who's 5, and then in the middle of that, a boy called Archie, who's 7. I'm a personal trainer, running coach. I teach classes and a keen marathon runner. And it seems like in the last year, I've become a traveler as well through my journey.
Yes, this episode features Emma Board, who tells the story of going after her big dream of running all 6 major marathons as a working mother of 3 young children, and how that unfolded in less than 12 months. But before you hear more from Emma, I do want to welcome you to Women's Running Stories. I am Cherie Louise Turner. I am the host and producer of this podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Now let's get into Emma's story. So yes, Emma had a dream to run the 6 major marathons. That is London, Berlin, Boston, Chicago, New York City, and Tokyo. There is now a 7th major marathon. That is Sydney, in Sydney, Australia. And Emma does address that. Her dream, however, was focused on the 6-star medal. And she started on that path with the 2024 New York City Marathon, which she ran for her 40th birthday. How she managed to get into, travel to, and run all of these major marathons within 12 months is what this story is all about. And of course, it's about so much more. It's about facing fears, processing mom guilt, building rock-solid emotional and mental strength, and the aftermath of experiencing a traumatic near-death incident that happened to her husband. It's also about reclaiming a sense of self and discovering how that benefits her and her family. For Emma, this journey is also about role modeling for other women and moms that it's possible to achieve big dreams even when you have young children at home. A few details to note. Emma works in Celsius, and she mentions 25 degrees. That translates to 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Emma also mentions running Royal Parks after having her first child, and Royal Parks is a very popular half marathon in London. All right, let's get to it. Let's hear Emma Board's 6-star journey, beginning at the start of her athletic life. Here to tell her story is Emma Board.
So I was never wonderful at any sports at school. In fact, I distinctly remember never making it to the netball team at school, which was kind of embarrassing since I think there were 4 of them. But I always went to the gym with my dad. It was a weekend thing. We used to go together, and that was I just enjoyed it. I just really, really just liked to go to the gym, and I enjoyed running. I was never kind of competitive with it, but it was just something that we did together. And he actually ran a couple of marathons when I was much younger, and I think that got me interested in the marathon scene. But really, I actually started not in the personal training world. I was trained as an actress. I went to drama school, but there was always that part of me that was thinking, what am I going to do if I don't make it? Which is, fair. So in between that, I trained as a personal trainer, and actually that became my love and my passion. And I progressed with that and left the acting world somewhat to the side. In terms of running, I used to run a lot of 10Ks, and actually at uni, this was where it really started. Someone dared me to run a marathon. I think that was 2005, my second year of uni. And I mean, I'm not one to turn down a dare. So I said, yes, I'm going to do the London Marathon. So I did that. The training was just abysmal. I mean, it was in between uni life. And there was no knowledge on gels or nutrition or anything like that, I think. And in the February, I remember getting really bad shin splints and just resorting to swimming as training, which kind of isn't, it's movement, but it's not, your average marathon training. And then I remember at mile 12, crossing Tower Bridge, thinking someone needs to literally carry me to the end because I'm not going to make it. But I did, and I got the buzz for it there. But that was that for a while. That was 2005. Then life went on. I carried on doing 10Ks, thoroughly enjoyed those. And then I think the real kickoff to my running life was when I had my first child in 2016. I signed up on the ballot for Royal Parks, and while I was pregnant, got a spot. And I was like, oh, there's no chance I can do it. It's 4 months after I have my little one. But I carried on running through pregnancy. I just loved it, and it was just peace, and it really felt okay, and it was okay to do it. It felt great, and I was thinking in my head, I've got this space. It doesn't really matter how I do it, fast, slow, whatever. But I really just wanted to raise money for charity, so I kind of put myself in a position where I was thinking, I'm gonna try and run this in October. She was born in July. Did it really slowly. Took the good 6, 7, 8 weeks out after having her, and then just slowly built it up. I had my fitness from before, and then I managed to somehow do the half marathon in that October, and that was just amazing. I had her waiting for me at the finish line, and I think that really was a special moment, and kind of played a huge part in me carrying on running and feeling this buzz, and actually feeling quite amazed how I could just have a baby and then run a half marathon. And I think I surprised myself, but the feeling you get from doing something that you think you can't do is kind of a bit addictive. And then, it just progressed from there, really. That was the start of a big journey. So in 2019, by then I had 2 children. So my little girl was 3 and my son was 1.5. And it was just a regular Sunday morning. I think I'd been to the gym actually, and I just got back and we were going out for the day, and my husband went up to have a shower, and I was just downstairs getting the children ready. And then there was a huge bang upstairs, and I just thought, oh, he's quite heavy-footed. He's probably just dropped something, or he's jumping around, whatever. And so I just carried on. I remember I was literally changing my kid's nappy. And then there was a really weird pulsating sound. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll just go check it out. And then I literally ran upstairs to a scene that was pretty much like a horror movie. My husband had fallen on the floor and he was having a seizure. There was a crazy amount of blood coming from his head. And he just kind of was having this kind of seizure. Didn't know who I was. Looked like he had smashed his head on the bedside table coming out of the shower. That's what it looked like. But again, we don't know, and I don't think we'll ever know exactly what happened. So I came downstairs, tried to keep my kids away, screamed out the front door for any neighbours to help whilst calling 999. And then the ambulance came and they called an air ambulance, and I was taken downstairs away from it. And actually, he ended up being put in a coma and airlifted to hospital, and myself and my mum, who was with me, she came over. We were delighted to the hospital. We still don't really know what happened. A seizure, or he banged his head and then had a seizure. It was pretty horrific. And I remember thinking at that point, God, my life has completely changed now. I'm going to be a single mum. And wow, it's weird what happens in your head when you are in that situation. Because as soon as they said to me they were putting him in a coma and airlifting to hospital, I was like, well, that only happens in like horror films. So yeah, that's where we were. But by some insane miracle, the incredible doctors on that air ambulance, and then again at the Royal London Hospital, which specialises in head injuries, I believe, saved him. And I remember getting to the hospital and waiting in that room they put you in where you think that's going to be it, but it wasn't. And yeah, by some miracle, he came out of this coma. And the first time I went to see him, because I remember being in the room with him upstairs, trying to like calm him down, and he did not know who I was at all. I was trying to talk to him as you would, and he didn't know who I was. So my fear was that he would be alive and not know who I was, and that would change everything as well. But again, by some incredible miracle, when he did wake up, he did know who I was, and that was the start of a recovery, which was just like a 360 back to where he is now. I mean, it was a miracle. So anyway, so as a result of that, I think that has done something in me to, first of all, make me realize that you get this one life and you just have to take opportunities, and you never know what's around the corner. Also, it makes me feel so grateful because my life could have taken a completely different turn. And I also think I channel it a lot when I run, because I've got through probably one of the hardest things ever, and I'm okay. And so that means you can get through hard things and you'll be okay. And I do use that a hell of a lot. I do use that. And throughout my running, especially since then, actually all since then, I've been raising money for the Essex and Herts Air Ambulance, which saved his life and I think saved our family, to be honest. I mean, my thing is that people are like, wow. And I'm like, I know, but you know what? We're on the other side and it's all okay. So it's okay. But that took time. It did take time to have the trust. Like for the first year, I think, I mean, he was never left alone in the house. There was always one of us, like me or a family member around. But you also have to, like, the doctors cleared him. He was tested for everything. You can't always live in fear. Like, you have to kind of get on with that. And I'm so lucky to have other family who are around and help. But he's made, like, he's totally fine, albeit slightly anxious, obviously, as you would be after that. But really, like, he's healthy and well and fit, and it's okay. So we kind of have to move on. So yeah, having three children close together was a lot on the body, but I think I worked out throughout all of them. My job allowed me to do that. That was part of my job, working out, and I carried on running until I felt like I couldn't. And I think a lot of it is education. I knew a lot about it. I've done a lot of courses on it, and I guess by the third child, I knew what my body could do, and it was a case of taking it slowly and gradually building up each time. Being really patient with your body. You can't just, it's not like, oh, I've had a rough night, I must take it easy tomorrow. It's like you really respect the body and know that it's gone through this huge ordeal having a child. But if you work with it, then it can do amazing things. And you gradually work with the strength and your pelvic floor and all the core muscles, and you do it sensibly. Start with, walking, running, and then gradually build it up. That was the way I went about it, and that's the way I encourage other people to go about it. Because, yeah, it's a scary space. A lot of people think they can't run when they're pregnant, which isn't true. As long as you're cleared by a doctor and you've previously run and you feel comfortable, it's okay. And then following the journey, whether you have a natural birth or a vaginal birth or a C-section, either one, there's ways to just slowly build it up and find your way back to it, just safely and sensibly. And I think, I mean, I was fortunate because I do know about it. And I think there is more to be told to other people. Like, there's a lot of education that needs to be done in this area. So I try and do that. And hopefully people will see that I've been able to do it. And hopefully that will encourage others to do it. But in terms of what running looks like, of course, before children, I could kind of just get up and go whenever I wanted. It was like the freedom of, I could go for a run, then maybe I'd go for a swim, just casual, take my time about it. Now it's kind of a little bit more militant and organized. I'm a really early riser, so I try and run before they wake up in the morning during the week. Fortunately, I have a treadmill at home, which absolutely saves the day. And then I mean, full credit to my husband. He gives me my Saturday morning long run time, which is amazing. Actually, now the kids are a little bit older, they do have activities which offers me a little bit more of a window of opportunity. But it's kind of just about making it work, having a plan. And when you're in marathon training zone, it's taking on board a plan and having a realistic goal as to what you can achieve. So, I mean, I couldn't say I could do 5 runs a week. It's more like 3 runs a week. And that's where it is right now. And that's okay. It's just adjusting to your time. And I don't like to let it cut into family time either as best as possible. So I get it done early. So then we've got the day and I can play mum. So I was always aware of the 6 majors, but I was thinking, gosh, I've got 3 young kids. It's just a faraway, distant dream. But I always said I was going to do New York for my 40th trip and go with my mum and sister, and we were going to make a trip out of it, and that was a bucket list. But just before then, in the summer, I had been on all these Facebook groups with the 6 majors and this, that, the other, and something popped up about applying for the Tokyo Ballot. This was in the summer holidays, and obviously New York's in November. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll just, I was on holiday in Spain. I was on the sunbed. I was like, oh, okay, I'll just apply for that. No one gets into the Tokyo Ballot, so I'll just apply anyhow. And then something else came up about a month later about Boston qualifier, and I was like, oh gosh, I did a really good run in London that year. I might as well just apply for that, because at some point I'm going to want to get in. So, let's just try my luck. So that happened, and then literally, I think it must have been the week before I went to New York, I got the notification saying that I got into the Tokyo Ballot, and I was like, oh gosh, because I didn't think that would happen. I have forever had a fear of flying. There was no way I was going to buy a 14-hour trip to go to Tokyo. What was I even thinking? Anyway, I parked that idea because I was focusing on New York and I was about having a good time there, and so that was put to one side. I went to New York and had an absolute ball there. It was just amazing. It was my first marathon abroad, and it was really special, and the race was incredible, and I think it hyped me up massively. And I mean, I got the bug, really. Just the travel, the experience, the whole community of running. Like, I hadn't experienced that. When I've done London, it's amazing, but I live here, so it's the norm for me to go and get my bib at the expo, come home, and then turn up on marathon day. But being in a city away from home, it was really incredible. And off the back of that, I was like, oh gosh, maybe I need to consider actually doing this now. Now I've got the opportunity. And I remember I wrote on a Tokyo group asking whether you can defer Tokyo, and someone came back to me and goes, why on earth would you do that if you've got a place? And I was like, you're so right. I need to do this. I can't tell you, my family, like, there's my brother, he's a pilot. He's like, there's absolutely no way you're going to go to Tokyo. You hate flying. You don't even like going to Spain, which is 2 hours away. And I think that did something to me. It's like, actually, you know what? I am going to do it. I am going to face my fear. I'm going to do this. And I was going to do it on my own as well, because I thought, let's really go for this and test my mental strength here, which kind of what Tokyo was. Tokyo was a mental strength battle, and in so many ways. So anyway, I did New York, and I was like, okay, great. I'm going to do Tokyo. And then I got notified about Boston. I was like, okay. So Boston's up there too. And my dad always wanted to go to Boston. So he was like, okay, do Boston. I was like, wow, okay. So now we're up to this. So I booked Tokyo flights and after New York, and that was that. I was going to Tokyo. And then I booked Boston because, again, you can't give up a Boston qualifying place. There's absolutely no way you can do that. And my husband was like, have you lost the plot since you turned 40? I was like, I think I might have done, because I'm not sure. I honestly haven't traveled across the world since before children. And all of a sudden I've gone to New York, and then I'm going to Tokyo, and then I'm going to Boston. In the lead up to New York, it all sounds very pretty now and a beautiful experience, but actually in the lead up to it, I was so anxious about leaving my kids. I hadn't done it before, and it wasn't just, popping down 2-hour drive away or anything like that. It was across to America. I felt guilty. I felt bad leaving them. I felt guilty on my husband having them. I kind of tried to put into place every every kind of situation. So I organized play dates, had clothes laid out for them, had everything organized. The mum guilt thing is real. Like, I really, really have tried to kind of calm down with it, because, you know, I work, I'm with my kids a lot, and I mean, I do a lot for them, but it's really hard to get over. Like, they're your kids, and it's really, really, it was really, really difficult in the lead up to leaving them, and they were like sad to leave, and I was sad to leave them, but it's important, and you know what, my husband had been away a couple of times, and that was fine, and they were fine, and he's an amazing dad, and my dad was around too. Like, there were other people around, so I had to see it as this was a great chance for them to hang out all together, and then to see that mum had other things in her life as well as being a mum. So I had to kind of really reason with myself. But the morning that I left, it was really, really tough, and I felt really bad. And I remember being up the night before, making sure everything was organized, like literally doing everything I possibly could to make it okay. But I have to say, as soon as I was on that plane and it was okay, and they were okay, they were perfectly fine. They were absolutely great. And they loved hearing about it. They loved FaceTiming and seeing what was going on out there. And I talked to them about this whole Six Majors thing, and they've been amazing on this journey. They've like absolutely loved following it and seeing it, and actually they did come to Berlin, which was amazing too. So they've been part of this journey as well. But yeah, the mum guilt, it was really hard, but I'm really, really, really glad I started on it and I did it, because I think it's really important to have your own thing in life as well as being a mum. Like, I was a personal before I had kids, and I need to kind of keep part of me as well now, having had kids. And it's good for them to see that as well, as hard as it is. And I don't think it ever gets easier leaving them. Every time I've left them, I find it really hard. I mean, Tokyo again was tough. I remember literally, I was about to go to the airport, and I promised my son I would make him these pizza things. I was like, oh my goodness, I can't leave until I've made them. So I'm literally standing in the kitchen making, I don't even do much cooking, but I promised him I'd make these things for him. So I'm standing in the kitchen making them, and then leave a note on the top saying, I promised you I wouldn't leave without them, and here they are, kind of thing. So the juggle is tough. It really is tough. Training and traveling and all of it is tough. But I really think it's good for them to see, and it's actually made me feel, it's kind of made me feel better doing it more, and I feel comfortable doing it, as opposed to before New York. I was so anxious to do it, so anxious to leave them. Okay, so yeah, Tokyo was, I mean, never in a million years did I think I'd ever go across the world alone or with anyone. I just don't like flying. It gives me anxiety, and I just don't like being out of control. And being on a plane, you're kind of not in control. But that I wanted to follow the stream of the Six Majors. It was something I really wanted to do, and the only way I could do it is if I did this. And so I got my head in gear. I think it was a huge mental thing, and luckily I've got a supportive husband who's like, come on. Although actually I say he still to this day questions. He said, how did you do that 14-hour flight? We'll go to Spain. And he was like, how did you do it? You don't like it? I was like, it's okay. It's mind over matter. So in my head I was like, I'm doing this, and it's my choice, and I want to do it, and I'm going to do it. I really had to get my head in gear for this. And so before the flight, I was, I have to admit, I used a little rescue remedy in my mouth to calm the nerves. I set up a plan of how I was going to get over the flight. So I broke the flight up into sections of what I was going to do, a bit of reading, a bit of writing, a bit of watching, anything that would pass the time. I mean, it was 14 hours, and it should have been overnight. I mean, it was overnight, but I didn't sleep a wink. That dragged it out a bit. But every hour I tick off, and every hour I was like, I can do this, I can do this. And it was a lot of self-talk, that trip. Also a lot of questioning through the trip, saying, what on earth am I doing? Like, who are you to travel to Tokyo? You don't do this. But then again, the other voice answering back saying, you're here, you're doing it, and let's go. So that was that. So then I got through the flight, and you know what? As soon as I landed, I was like, wow, I've accomplished something I never thought I'd do. And I think that really helped me, because I ticked it, I'd done the 14-hour flight, and I was okay. Then I got to Tokyo, and it was quite cool. And I went with the attitude, I'm here, and I'm going to make the most of it. So normally when I get to a hotel, I unpack, I settle in. It was nighttime, I would have gone to bed, but I got up and I went out and I had some dinner on my own. I was like, this is like huge character building here. I'm putting myself in a very uncomfortable position. I had the Google Translate on, so I was like just trying to really, really switch on the embracing and the being present and making the most of opportunity. Don't get me wrong, there were moments of complete nerves and anxiety in between that, but I just tried to really reason with myself. I was also lucky enough to know a few people through the sports tours company that I was with, so that was kind of made me feel a little more settled. But in terms of the race, I had a moment in the race that I really felt very nervous. I think it was about 8 miles in, and I tried to stay on top of my head the whole time. But when you're running a race, it was actually really hot, and it was different in Tokyo. You weren't allowed to carry your own water bottles, and that's normally my comfort blanket. I carry it, and I feel comfortable with it because it's in my hand. I know when I can drink. They didn't have that there, so that kind of automatically took me out of my comfort zone. And at Mile 8, I suddenly panicked, and irrational thoughts came into my head, like, if I suddenly pass out, there's no one here to look after me. I'm a million miles away from home. My parents have to come out and look after me, this, that, the other. Completely like off the radar thoughts. And then I had to like really check in with myself and be like, you're fine. You've done this before. You've trained. Just take it easy and just do what you normally do. It's just another long run. And that's a lot of what this whole running journey has taught me. And especially that moment in Tokyo, I will not forget it, because I got over that bit where I thought, I really, really felt in a dark place. Not a dark place, but just nervous and fearsome and not like me. But then I overcome it, and then I got to the end, and then I got that Tokyo medal, and I traveled across the world and I'd done it. And I think that was quite empowering in its own way. A little, just changing your thoughts, which I think was a real part of it. Yeah. So I've always been quite headstrong, and even when I go for long runs, sometimes I go for long runs on the most boring route in order to like really know that I say to myself, if you can do this route, you can do a marathon route. Like, it kind of preps me to do hard things. I kind of challenge myself to make it harder so that something else becomes easier. But yeah, I do a lot of self-chat, as I said, and I will touch upon this. When I had my children, I did do hypnobirthing before, and a lot of that was, again, channeling your thoughts and just realigning them. And actually, this might be interesting. I used to have a fear of dogs, and I actually got hypnotized, and it worked. And then subsequently, our family got a dog, which was crazy. And I think actually that is that was another point in my life when I realized that your thoughts are so powerful, and you can change them. You can easily think one thing and then talk yourself out of it. So that moment in Tokyo when I had to change my thoughts, you kind of got to reason with yourself. When the marathon gets really tough, again, reason with yourself and think you can do it. And yeah, I do. I am a fan of the mantras. And again, we got mantras when I did the hypnobirthing course before I had my first child. Just little sayings in your head to try and focus your mind in a more positive way. So when I'm running, I often think, this is a very common one, and it's not mine, I'm not quoting myself, but run the mile you're in. So stay present and be in that mile and get to the end of that mile and then get on to the next one. That's one I often take. Also, the "you get to do this" line, that's a big one for me, because at the end of the day, you get to do this. This is your choice. You've actually paid to do this. And as nuts as that might be, you've paid to do it, and you get to do it. You're here, and you've got to embrace it. You get this. Again, talking about my husband's accident, you get this one chance at life, one opportunity, and slip away from you in seconds. And so you've got to embrace it. And through the marathons, you know what? It was really nice. I actually said to myself before that I am not chasing PBs. I'm chasing experiences, and I want to smile my way through those courses and just have the best time. And that mindset really helped, because I know if I was trying to beat a time or go super fast, it would stress me out, and it wouldn't have been the same experience. I had a ball. I high-fived kids. I smiled. I posed for photos, because, what's an experience without a memory in a photo? And that was my thing. Have a nice time, enjoy it. So yeah, embrace the moment, embrace it, and be present. despite the pain in the legs or the pain here and there. Like, also, I did a lot of looking around during running, and the more you smile, the more you get back from other people, and that shared energy between runners, I think, is really special as well. I definitely think when I came back from Tokyo, I had this feeling that if I've done that, I can do anything, but I can do hard things, and I can challenge myself, and I can be outside my comfort zone. And I actually think in the whole of this 6-star journey, that is the kind of lesson that I've taken from it. Like, it's hard, but it's okay to be uncomfortable, because that's life. So that's the real lesson I learned from there, and I've taken it everywhere along the way when it's felt hard. So I came back from Tokyo, and 7 weeks later was Boston. And with Boston comes the hill challenges. But again, I'd flown across the world, and I'd run Tokyo, and I'd been by myself. So this was okay. I could do hills in Boston. That's okay. So again, it was that mindset of doing it. And Boston was incredible as well. And it was its own experience. It was just a crazy, wonderful weekend. Then when I got to Boston, everyone said, "Are you doing London next week?" I said, "Oh, I don't know. I did have a place." But then when I got Boston, I was like, "There's no way I can do another marathon 6 days after." And someone said, "Why can't you?" I said, and then I was like, if I do it next week, I would do all of them in 11 months, less than a year. And that was enough for me. I'm one of those people that if I'm in, I'm in. So I was in now. I was in. And there were a lot of people in Boston around me that were doing both. I was like, how on earth can I give up a London place? Which I couldn't. So Boston came back. It was my husband's birthday the next day. So like I came back off that plane straight into mode of like organizing cake. Couldn't let the marathon interrupt a birthday because that's just mean. He didn't choose for me to do this. I chose to do it. And we need to make his birthday special. So that's what the head went. So being a mom and a wife and all that it kind of is great, because you get in this world of running, and that's amazing when you're in it. But then you go straight back to reality. I went straight off the plane to pick up my kids from school. But that's the beauty of it. And I think I actually quite like it, because you can't wallow in the fact that you just run a marathon. On to the next thing. Here we go again. So we had his birthday, and then the London Marathon was 5 days after that. And the thing about London was that my daughter was in a dance show the same day. And I said to her, I will be there. I will be there. I might miss the first 10 minutes, but I will be there. So I had this little time pressure on London to hurry up, finish this race, and get to this show. And so I literally did London. It was so hot this year, boiling. But I finished the race, got the medal. I was like, normally I'm like there taking selfies, living the dream. But I was like, this is selfish. We've done this marathon thing now. We need to get on. So I literally hopped on the train, got to the show. I'm sitting in this auditorium still with my marathon stuff on and my bib on. I've got my hoodie on. I've sprayed myself on the way to like avoid any kind of like idea that I've just run 26 miles in 25-degree heat. But anyway, she spots me and I'm like, this is what it's all about. And it was kind of really quite cool. I'm sitting there down in the water, watching my daughter having just run London Marathon. So that was very cool too. I thoroughly enjoyed that moment. And she came out after the show. And it was beautiful. She put on my medal. And that was another tick done. And luckily we made it. Luckily the trains worked, the marathon worked, and we were happy days. So that was that. And then, so Berlin. Wow, that was an adventure in itself. I could talk about Berlin for another 3 hours. My kids always wanted to come and watch me in an abroad marathon. They've been saying it from day one. So without telling them, I booked them to come to Berlin because it's close to home and it's doable. And actually my brother and sister, my parents wanted to come too, because my brother used to live in Berlin and he has loads of friends there anyhow. And it was just the one that we could all make work. So we thought we'd do a weekend trip. So I secretly packed up all the kids' stuff and then I wrote them up to say goodbye. And then I turned to them and said, actually, guys, do you want to come? And I mean, this was a moment I won't forget as well, when they were like, what? I was like, yeah, come. Marathon. They were like, what about school? I was like, it's fine, I've cleared it. We're coming. And that was really, really awesome. Like a moment I won't forget. So they came to Berlin. Okay, so it all sounds rosy, kids in marathons, but I completely get spectating marathons are hard, and then add 3 kids to the equation in a foreign country. It was very hard for my husband and my family, but as they all agreed, it was so worth it. I stopped on the way and I hugged them, and I mean, that's what it's all about. Like this whole journey, okay, I've kind of lost off the idea of going for PBs, and I've taken on the experiences, and I really feel like I've ticked that box because I stopped, I cuddled them, and that was what it was all about. So that was truly special, and they loved it. A quick interjection here, because the way home was an absolute disaster and made me regret all life choices. Because on the way home, we had 2 flights cancelled and lost luggage, which contained all my marathon gear, which I needed 2 weeks later for Chicago. And I remember after that questioning, what on earth am I doing? Like, this is not cool. This is not nice for anyone. And it's all because I'm doing this dream. And I did feel such guilt at the time for it, but it was okay. And you know what? We got through it. We got home and the bags came back a week later and it was all okay. And life went on as normal. And actually, the kids, when I talked to the kids about Berlin, they were like, it was amazing. We all did that. And it was so fun. We got to stay at the airport all day. I was like, was it fun? Because it wasn't fun for me. And you know what? And one of them said, but you know what? We got home. It was okay. I was like, you're right. We did get home, and no one was hurt in the process. We were all okay. And that's amazing that despite that, you still loved it and you got to come with me, and we're all okay. It's life lessons, really. It's life lessons and core memories. And that's an experience that none of us will ever forget. And I feel like that's part of this journey, creating lifelong memories. So that was that. And then it was the final one in Chicago. Wow. Yeah, I think there was it was a lot of emotion. And I did a lot of kind of reading, and I'm really into quotes, and I really think they helped me along the way here as well. Just thinking about where I've come from and putting my head in gear again, like I said with the other ones. It was emotional because I look back on the whole year. I was like, gosh, here we are with like one more race to go, and I'm actually here, which was crazy to think about. And I think it was a mixture of excitement. I always have a fear before a marathon because, let's be honest, the marathon is it's really, really, really hard. And there's always a fear of me of something going wrong. Like you can control as much as you can control. I know I can run a marathon because I've done it, but there are certain things on the day, the heat, you could trip, you could feel ill. Any of that is always in my head. So that I go into every race with a panic. It's like my thing. But then again, it's like, reason with it and control what you can control. And I think that's what I've learned through this journey as well. Kind of do what you can do, and then the rest you just need to go with. But emotionally, I was excited. The kids were super excited, and I think that revved me up. They were like, don't come home without the medal. I was like, oh God, okay, pressure's on. I need to go and get this medal for them. So there was no turning back now. And I was thinking, I remember thinking at some point, what on earth am I doing? Like, how am I here? This time last year, I was not anywhere near here. This wasn't the plan. And all of a sudden, we're right here about to go and do this. But I was so excited as well. So excited to like get to that finish line. And actually, the Chicago course, that was in the top of my head the whole way round. Just another mile closer. And I had the bib on the back that said, this is running my 6th. And that is special because people kind of talk to you on the way and they're like, wow, that's amazing, and you kind of really bugged up from that. But about 18 miles in Chicago, I texted my husband while I was running, and I just messaged him. I said, this is so hard. I think I just was running. I was like, gosh, another 8 miles and I'll be there, but I'm just so tired. I think physically, emotionally, mentally, the whole thing just hit me at that point. And I don't know why. I think mile 14, I remember being a super fast mile. I think there was a huge, like an amazing atmosphere at that point. But and then maybe it was a bit quieter, I'm not sure, but it was just like the reality set in of, I think maybe of what everything I've done, and everything just felt a bit heavy and tired. And also I think in my head I was like, wow, it's going to all be over in a minute too. And there were a whole load of emotions that I just think were a lot. I actually, through those last miles, after I had that little point, I kind of really made a point of looking up and looking around and reading the signs and trying to just embrace it, because I was also, I knew like this was it now. We had like a few more miles, a few more minutes, and then that would be it. And I remember thinking through my head, visualizing having that medal, showing the kids, and having that, you know what, I kept thinking, you know what, once you get to the end and you've got that medal, you've got this forever. You've done it. You've achieved this goal of completing this and getting your 6 majors and doing it in a year. And no one will ever be able to take that away from you. And that was really ingrained in me in those last few miles to help me get to the end. And also the atmosphere was pretty awesome towards the end as well. So that helped. And honestly, there was nothing like crossing that line in Chicago and getting that medal. It was epic. So when we got back, the kids were very excited. They wanted to take the medal to school, and I said, absolutely not. I will come and bring it to school if they want to see it, but you are not taking this medal. And they were so excited. And you know what was really nice? Like, I got messages from their teachers saying, well done. Those kids have been talking all about it. And I have to say that for me is a huge thing because they've been with me on the journey. They've seen me struggle with it. They've been with me, missing me, and I've missed them. And it's taken its toll. Like, it's been hard. And I wouldn't change it for the world, but it is hard. It's hard training for a marathon. It's hard traveling. All of it's really hard. But it's also those little nuggets of when you realize they've been talking about it and they're proud and they've seen you do it. Like that's really special. My husband thinks I'm completely bonkers, but he's also, really proud too. And he did the 5K with me in Chicago the day before. And he was like, oh, maybe I should get involved. It's such a buzz. I was like, right, now you get it. It's awesome. I'm not sure there's space for 2 marathon runners here, but we can work on that. But yeah, they were really excited, and it's been a big part of our year. But really in the aftermath, there is that little come down when you come home and you've had this amazing experience and you kind of reached the peak of where you thought you were going to be. And then slap back into reality, which is normal as well. And it's better. It's better that you just snap back in. Like, I know I've got that medal. I know I've had an amazing year of traveling, and I've done all that. But as I said right at the beginning, first and foremost, I'm a mum of 3, so we're back into that. And the funny thing is, a week after, my daughter was aware that about Sydney. She's like, so you're going to do Sydney next year? I'm like, you want me to? She goes, yeah, definitely. You need to get the next one. I was like, okay. Thanks, Lola.
And so Emma's marathon journey continues with the full enthusiasm and support of her family. Thank you so much, Emma, for coming on the podcast and sharing your story. I really appreciate it. And the very best of luck for when you do run Sydney, as well as all the other adventures you decide to get after going forward. And thank you, dear listener, for being here. I always appreciate you coming here and listening to these stories. Please look to the show notes for how you can keep up with Emma Board on Instagram. And I will also link to 2 essays that Emma wrote. One is about her husband's accident, and the other one is about her running the Tokyo Marathon, if you would like to learn more details about those experiences. And that does bring us to the end of this episode. I am Cherie Louise Turner. I am the host and producer of Women's Running Stories. And until next Tuesday, I do wish you healthy, joyful, dreamy strides forward. Women's running. Women's running stories.